Moving on to session two, and may I have the privilege of introducing the chairman. A leading mobile entertainment strategist, he advises stars, superstars, including Madonna, U2, and Lady Gaga on their mobile strategies, reflecting his status as one of the world's top experts in mobile technology and the music business. Over the last 15 years, he's been a prominent global mobile trailblazer and innovator, helping grow the mobile entertainment and content industry and playing a central role in its impact and presence worldwide. Ladies and gentlemen, the chair for session two, Mr. Ralph Simon.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, or as I should say, really, let me just get my notes for this next session. Where are we? Yes, we're getting ourselves organized here. Subhadavalak. That's what we should say, really. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this next session is really important for a variety of reasons. First of all, we have some of the world's leading specialists to talk about subjects that are particularly interesting for Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka, smart island, smart people, but most important of all, great creativity here. And to start off this session, I want to introduce you to our first speaker, who is born in Sri Lanka, but has made a fantastic name for himself internationally and in the USA. I'd like to introduce our first speaker to you, who is Mr. Shamal Ranasinghe. And to give you some background, Shamal is the co-founder of a very significant company that is headquartered in the United States called Topspin. I don't know how many of you have actually seen Topspin on the web, but Topspin is an exceptionally important company in Hollywood and in the entertainment business and in the mobile entertainment business. Shamal has been at the forefront of digital music product strategy and development for the past decade, and has been responsible for defining software and service best practices for leading companies in the digital music space. He did an MBA at Stanford University, where he blended his knowledge and his background and his upbringing in Sri Lanka with contemporary technology and knowledge brought from an MBA at Stanford, one of the most difficult graduate courses in the United States and globally. And he embarked on his career in music application product management, working with a product team that introduced one of the first digital jukebox software applications called the Real Jukebox. He later joined a company called Music Match, where he headed up the product team and was in charge of their web services product development, which included on-demand, radio, and music store web services. In 2007, a short 5 years ago, he started Topspin, a very progressive company whose essence and whose reason was to help artists and musicians earn a living, and it really has become one of the key companies in Hollywood. He's a graduate first from Northwestern University in the US, and as I mentioned, MBA at Stanford. So please give our homeboy, who's come back to Sri Lanka and to Colombo, Shamal Ranasinghe. Give him a big round of applause. Shamal. Welcome. So great to see you here. Welcome. It's over to you.
Thank you very much, Ralph. That was an amazingly kind introduction. Okay, great. Thank you very much. And I just wanted to thank the ICTA and the South Asian Mobile Conference for inviting me. I'm really happy to be here. And I'm going to be talking today about the future of media. Well, let's just get into it. So, when I think of media, my mental framework to understand media is really about the artist or the creator and the consumer or the fan connection. And when I think about that framework, it really is about how music or media, film, etc., gets produced, how it gets marketed, and ultimately how it gets distributed. So my background, just to kind of give context to that mental map, is as Ralph said, I was born in Sri Lanka. I left when I was about 5 years old. Grew up in the States. I'm based in California right now, and for fans on that side of the equation, my experience is very early in my career was building media management applications. So, and when you think of how you experience like iTunes type of media management, those are the kinds of things that that I first focused on. And in the past 10 years, I've been working on the artist side of the equation by starting a company called Topspin that was focused on musicians and filmmakers. So I'm going to be talking about media and the future of media from an entrepreneurship lens. And this has been shaped from my upbringing in Silicon Valley, namely. And the way we think about it from that perspective is what I want to kind of instill with you guys who hopefully are, have an entrepreneurial spirit or, are potential or active entrepreneurs. So the way I'm looking at the future is, first of all, trying to anticipate the market and then really think big. So when I'm thinking big, I'm trying to reinforce the notion of like, what is the biggest problem, and then what's the biggest bet? And what is indubitably going to happen is the biggest bet is going to be related to the biggest problem. And ultimately, what are we doing? Is it truly revolutionary? Is it going to change the world? And if so, then we need to like plan for the long term. So my personal example with Topspin is I started working on this 10 years ago with my co-founder, Peter Gocher. And we chose the problem of wanting to help artists make a living because the music industry is collapsing, as I'm sure you all know, and the people who are suffering most were the artists themselves. And our big bet was that artists will be able to connect directly with their fans in the future thanks to the efficiencies of the internet. And sure enough, that happened. We started working on it five years ago full time. And now we have artists like Lady Gaga, Paul McCartney, Beastie Boys, and Eminem who use the system to connect with their fans directly and earn significant income. But truly the passion of the company and where my passion lies is helping the smaller artists who have the most to gain by connecting directly with their fan base. So a little indication of how we think about the future when it comes to direct-to-fan is it's no longer about trying to get your fans to come to your website and transact with you directly, but it's more about trying to go from the artist perspective to where the fans actually are, in this case on YouTube or on Facebook or really across the web on mobile devices and tablets, and then surface up offers from the artist directly to those fans. So when I think about the future of media, it's really, when you think about the artist and fan connections, the revolution has happened for fans. Us as consumers, we're not going to be denied anymore when it comes to music and media. Everything is available at our fingertips. We're swimming in more music and media than we know what to do with, really. But the future belongs to the artists. The revolution has not come yet for the artists. It will come. We have to ask ourselves what it will look like when it does come. But the good news is that the good quality is now flowing downhill, meaning that like it used to be the case in the past where you didn't have to necessarily be good. All you needed to do was be marketed to, and you could have success. So speaking of the past, in order to understand the future, we need to actually understand the past. And let me spend a little bit of time just talking about that. It used to be that production of media was prohibitively expensive. You used to need to get into a multi-million-dollar studio and get your media produced, your music or your film. If you were lucky to get your media produced, you needed to get it distributed in a retail store, and you needed to have the connections to get slotted in on those shelves, or you needed to have the demand in order to justify being on those shelves. But even if you were lucky enough to get it produced and distributed, you still needed to get your media marketed. And it used to be the terrestrial radio or the TV was the only way to get it marketed, and the physics of those mediums were highly limiting. You could only have a few selections being rendered at any given time. Now you fast forward to the present, and the production of media has been highly democratized. You don't need a multi-million-dollar studio anymore because that functionality is now replicated on a laptop or any type of computer. So if you're an artist and you have good content, you can get it produced professionally and have it be easily distributed. But now distribution itself, thanks to the efficiencies of the internet, has now evolved. Netflix and Amazon have given us unlimited shelf space, so we have unlimited selections. YouTube has completely redefined that, and now is the premier destination site for all music and media by far. And the evolution of the consumption patterns has on mobile devices and 10-foot UIs have completely made the consumption experience ever present. And the ownership of media now has evolved rather dramatically. I mean, in the music industry example, Napster came in and completely decimated the industry by enabling all content to be free and away from the controls of the record labels. Then iTunes came in and legitimized the music industry by offering every single track available for sale and unbundled the album concept. And now that has evolved into this notion of subscription services, where services like Spotify and Deezer and Rhapsody and Rdio and Mog, etc., around the world are offering for a monthly fee a selection and access to every single piece of content that the music industry has to offer. And this is all being supported on the mobile device as well. It's a beautiful thing because this evolution in content consumption is not only enabling these devices, but is being enabled by these devices. A good example is recently Pandora, the biggest internet radio service in the world, has just reported that 70% of its consumption is now on the mobile device. So yes, the future is definitely mobile. I mean, as you can see in this graph, the percentage of people accessing the web in India is now equivalent in terms of it coming from the mobile device versus the desktop. And I'm sure this was the latest stat on this is January 2012, so I'm sure now 6 months later, it's probably surpassed desktop usage in terms of accessing the web on a mobile device. So what does this all mean for marketing? It's more challenging than ever. If you can start to consume all media on all devices with unlimited inventory, then it's really difficult for the artists themselves to actually start marketing themselves, because there's just so much noise now in the medium. So